Coming up on this week's show, we'll be taking a trip to West Cork to learn how to decorate Easter eggs. But first, we'll be taking a look back at the 63 groups involved in the spectacular Cork City St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Hello, I'm Judy and welcome to Cork County Matters. It's bright and early on one of the most important days in the Irish calendar, St. Patrick's Day. This year's Cork City Parade is dedicated to 1916, the legacy. Over 3,000 participants are expected to take part in this year's parade and over 80,000 people are expected to come to Cork over this weekend. We're going to speak to some of the people who organised the parade and show you some of the highlights throughout the day.
Cork City's 2016 parade kicked off at 1 p.m, seeing over 50,000 people gather around the streets of Cork. The parade was led by volunteers from Blood Bike South, followed by on Ard Farah, the Lord Mayor of Cork, Chris O'Leary and his family. Next up was the Army, led by the band of the 1st Brigade, followed by a marching body of troops from the Permanent Defence Forces, the Reserve Defence Forces, light guns and members of the National Ex-Servicemen and Women. The Amarillo Firefighters, Pipes and Drums Band travelled all the way from Texas to take part in the parade and join the members of the Cork Fire Brigade, who have with them a vintage 1952 DENISE fire appliance. Next, we had the highly anticipated Grand Marshals of the parade. And here are a few words from Damien O'Mahony from the Cork City Council about this year's choice.
Well, normally we have a celebrity. We had Michael Flatley 2 years ago, we had George Hook, we had Dan Tanney, the astronaut, etc. And we struggled really to think about what might be appropriate in this special year. And what we decided was that we would ask a theatrical group to represent the 7 signatories of the Republic's proclamation and to lead the parade. I suppose in some ways the proclamation was Ireland's first constitution, and even reading it today it's almost age-proof. It talks about equality, it talks about fraternity, it talks about the right to liberty and self-determination. So it's as relevant today, I think, as it was back in 1916.
The Middle Parish and Colkey Historical Society pushed prams dating back to the 1930s, carrying children and traditional Cork foods including a pig's head. Cork's puppet specialists Doucha were next with a large-scale representation of Padraig Pearse, reading extracts from the proclamation. The McCurtain McSweeney Republican Flute Band carried flags, symbolic to the spirit of 1916, and were followed by the Christ Embassy Church, Cork. The Superstars Stage School were followed by the Igbo Union, a gathering of Igbo-speaking people of Nigeria living in Cork. The Masquerade Ball Rainbow Club for Autism marched to raise awareness for children with autism and their families. The Rebel Wheelers Multi-Sports Club for children with a physical disability were out to showcase their basketball, bocce and rugby skills. The club are currently working with the GAA to introduce wheelchair hurling and football. The Doucha Puppets were back again with Happy Out, a light-hearted piece about our love for our country. Having the crack, chatting up the weather, and having the right to be ourselves no matter how silly we might be.
High spirits will dominate Ireland today. Early mist.
The Nemo Rangers underage team were followed by the Starlight Baton Twirlers, showing off their hand-eye coordination. All the way from Colorado, USA, was the Smoky Hill High School Marching Band, known for their energetic performances of upbeat, festive music. The group was formed in the 70s and since then have performed in many countries, including Russia, England and Taiwan. The Cork Environmental Forum highlighted themes of sustainability, renewable energy and the challenges of climate change. The Cork City Judo Club were followed by the Cork Dragons, a paddling team for breast cancer survivors, their families and friends. The Sapphire Baton Twirlers were next, and followed by the Bowron Buckills, dressed in their Celtic warrior costumes. The Massachusetts State Police returned for their second visit to Cork's St. Patrick's Day Parade. They were joined by police officers from other agencies around the New England area, and we had a chance to catch up with two officers, and here's what they had to say.
There's 36 million people in America who claim to have Irish heritage. Does that surprise you?
No. Especially around St. Patrick's Day. I think there's about 360 million that claim they have some Irish heritage on St. Patrick's Day.
They alter the names, put an O or Mick in front of it usually.
And there's loads of Irish in Boston, isn't there?
Yes.
So does that make kind of Paddy's Day in Boston extra special? Is there something that you do in particular? Because I know in Chicago they dye the river green. Do you do anything like that?
Well, they have a good parade there, but they dye their beer green, the draft beer. Yeah.
Very good.
The politicians have the big roasts. They roast each other, make fun of each other.
They have Irish breakfast.
Yes.
And are you missing home today?
No, not really,
today.
because we're having fun here.
The Irish Redhead Convention teamed up with Red Balloon to create their aptly named Foxy Float. Bui Bullock celebrated the 1916 theme with a large-scale representation of Irish culture and creativity. The UCC Surgeon Noonan Society were up next, and followed by the Joan DENISE Moriarty School of Dance with their 9-foot-tall ballerina. Cork New Life Media and Life FM brought the message of the cross. And Afro-Brazilian group Bloco Rebeldia showed off their percussion skills. Based out of Cork, they welcome new members with no previous musical experience needed, just a love of the beat. And following them was the Girls Club Cork. The Cork City Football Club's under-17s and under-19s team players were next. The under-19s have just won the National League and are joined by fans and members, as well as their club mascot Cheetah, apparently the fastest member of the Cork City team. The Ballyfihan 1916 to 2016 Centenary Commemorations Committee has a huge programme of events throughout the year to commemorate, honour and celebrate the 1916 Patriots. For St. Patrick's Day, they dressed in costumes from 1916. Also, Ballyfihan is the only parish in the country to have its streets named after the 7 signatories. Celebrating their 4th year in the parade was Na Piarsaigh Camogie and Ladies Football Club. Making Moves Dance Theatre and the Trish McCarthy School of Modern Dance demonstrated their talents before Spree, the well-known street theatre company, took to the streets. Their pageant took a humorous and nostalgic look back at the changes in Irish life over the past decade. Starting with old phone boxes and nattering biddies on a sofa, and then surprising the crowd with a giant spider to represent the technological advances in Ireland over recent years and the web that now connects us all. Gaeltacha are a non-profit group working with and for the Irish language community in Cork City, and were joined by the Cork City Samba Band, who brought even more music and colour to the streets. The Cork Deaf Association were celebrating 50 years of providing services for the deaf and hard of hearing people in Cork. The Emerald Baton Twirlers were followed by the St Vincent's Hurling and Football Club, and then the St Nick's underage section of the Glen Rovers Hurling Club. Up next was the Mexican community in Cork, with traditional music and dance from the southeast of Mexico. The United Filipino Association had people dressed in a range of Filipino national dress, followed by their drummers. This year's parade has had more nationalities represented than any before. We caught up with the Lord Mayor of Cork to find out more about the different people and nationalities represented in this year's parade.
They've really made Cork their home, and to come out and celebrate, as they've been doing anyway in the communities that I've visited in my term of office. You get a good flavour of what Cork is now. Mm-hmm. And Cork is really a great mix of metropolitan, mixed culture and mixed understandings with regards to diversity, and that's our strength in the future going forward. You know, to see even in the schools during the week, you know, young people whose parents were born in Africa now with Cork accents reading the proclamation and portraying, you know, the patriots, the 7 signatories, was just phenomenal, really, to be honest about it, because they've taken into their own hearts and their own culture the whole importance of where they're living now, which is brilliant. And that's the integration that we need as well. You know, it makes you really proud to be, you know, in Ireland in 2016.
We also caught up with some tourists visiting Ireland to find out their thoughts on St. Patrick's Day.
We've come over to enjoy the celebrations, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Everybody's so happy and they welcomed us with open arms, and that was awesome.
We've never experienced St. Patrick's Day before, so this is the first time for us.
This is your first St. Patrick's Day? Well, that's even more.
Ireland, so
First time in Ireland and first St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
So what do you think so far?
great. So yeah,
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
Amazing place.
What are you most looking forward to today?
The dancing.
The dancing. Dancing in the street.
Dancing in the street.
It's expected that 13 million pints of Guinness are going to be sold today around the world, so you'll be contributing.
Maybe a million.
We have to go to a quick break now, but stay with us as we still have 15 groups to dazzle you with. And we'll also be giving you a look
At what Patrick's Day was like in Cologne, Germany, and we'll also be meeting with Sean O'Leary in Castletownbere, who'll be showing us how to decorate Easter eggs.
Welcome back to part 2 of Cork County Matters. We're nearing the end of the St. Patrick's Day parade, but there are still some fantastic groups to see, including Donegal-based performance group Lux and their collaboration with Cork-based Bright Light Studio. Their rainbow is symbolic of Ireland's desire to become an accepting and encompassing nation, welcoming as equals people of all colours, creeds and orientations, which was the hope of the 1916 leaders. Lux was followed by the Glen Rovers Camogie Club, and then all the way from Canada was the Timmins Police Pipes and Drums Band. They have performed all over Canada, but this was their first time performing in Cork. Next to march was the Ebo Union Women's Wing in their stunning bright colours. Following them was the UCC Confucius Institute, showcasing their Chinese traditions, with traditional dance, martial arts, and the ever-popular Chinese dragon also came out to take part in the festivities.
Enter the dragon!
The parade was emceed by none other than RedFM's Neil Prendeville, and we'd a chance to catch up with him and find out his thoughts on the day.
It's amazing actually the amount of effort and colour and carnival, and also it's also amazing the amount of people from all over the world live on Leaside, We had people from 4 corners of the world had floats and parts of the parade today. It was terrific.
There was no shortage of other well-known Corkonians out to celebrate, including Fianna Fáil leader Micheál Martin and Sinn Féin councillor Thomas Gould. The Cork Barrack Street Band were next to march. The band are affectionately known as Baraka and won Best Music in the Cork Parade last year. Polish School Cork and accompanying members of the Polish community were next, with children wearing traditional costumes of 4 regions of Poland. Our Lady of Fatima Rosary Prayer Group were next and walked with the pilgrim statue of Our Lady while reciting the Rosary. The Catholic Girl Guides of Cork were next and followed by Spree's second group in the parade. They celebrated the animals of Cork with an urban fox, a watchful owl and a large dog. The Sudanese Association of Cork have participated in the parade for the last 5 years and wore traditional costumes and dress to celebrate their culture. The Cork Inline Figure Skating Association demonstrated some beautiful and skillful figure skating techniques. They are the first figure skating club in Munster and the only inline figure skaters in Ireland. The Ridgeview High School band from Orange Park in Florida made their second appearance in a St. Patrick's Day parade. And were followed by the Rising Sun School of Karate. The last group in the parade was the CIT Carnival Samba, made up of students of all ages from the CIT Cork School of Music. And before we finish up with our St. Patrick's Day celebrations, we wanted to show you what St. Patrick's Day was like abroad. So here's a look inside 2 Cork-owned bars in Cologne, Germany. The Corkonian is the oldest Irish bar in Cologne. Just down the road from it is Barney's Valley, known for its great Guinness and now known for this. And back in Cork, we caught up with the CEO of the Cork City Council to find out about what she's excited about in the coming few months.
I think the Easter celebrations, we have a big celebration here in the city on Easter Monday, and obviously that's a very important statement again about our history and our future, because everything we're doing at the moment is reflecting on what happened but celebrating the last 100 years and looking into the future.
And speaking of Easter, we hope that you enjoyed the bank holiday weekend and have some eggs left in the fridge so that you can take part in our next feature.
Welcome to the hills of Castletownbere. We're here today to meet with Sean O'Leary, a video maker and community artist who is becoming a YouTube sensation by showing people how to make art pieces, including St. Bridget's crosses and Christmas decorations. We're going to meet with Sean to find out more about him, and he's going to show us how to decorate eggs for Easter. So Sean, we're delighted to be here in your home in the hills of Castletownbere, I'm going to call it now, because it's stunning up here.
It is. It's just so beautiful, Judy. I mean, very inspiring as well, because I come from Kerry originally, but here I've never lived amongst trees before, and there is something really special about that.
And do you feel a little bit isolated because you're so far away from, well, you're not so far away from the town, but it is a bit of a trek to get in and there aren't many houses around, or do you find that that almost adds to your creativity?
That adds to it as well, because you really get the feeling of being looked after. I suppose some people would see it as being isolated, but I feel just so looked after here.
Now, the beauty of modern technology is the fact that you're becoming a YouTube sensation from here, which is fantastic. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself, your creativity, and how you began with all this.
So I really do love YouTube and the different videos on it and stuff, and kind of felt I could have a go at that. And it's been really amazing, again, as you say, from a little corner of West Cork, that I can be reaching people in the polar regions, in the equator, all over America. I mean, there was one lady who was up in the Arctic, and she's working with the Aboriginal people up there. So last 1st of February, there was a classroom of children making crosses up in the Arctic based on my video. I mean, that is huge.
A lot of your videos are demonstration videos, and have a lot of information about folklore and history of Ireland and things like that. What do people what's their reaction to your videos usually?
There's a growing interest in Irish folklore and the heritage. And so it's a mixture of both then with the heritage and the workshops. And people have been wonderful. I mean, my video about making St. Bridget's crosses, the comments, if I ever feel any way kind of wayward it's just great to look back and read the comments.
Another thing that I loved is that when you sell the figurines to people, they also come with a video with the figurines in it. So they're buying the piece, but then they're also buying a link to see their character come to life that they can show their kids or their friends or anything like that. Is that going down really well?
That's going really well now, because you can, and the stories can move around, and I have photos of the piece that I make into the story. But so you just have your piece, but you see them star in a film as well. Not too many people can buy a film star.
That's a very unique idea, though. Yes. Like, no one has come up with that yet, have they?
I don't think so. I haven't seen it before, but it is a nice way that it's not just, like, I really don't want to get into mass production and sell 2,700 of the one leprechaun, because again, I really wanted to, each leprechaun had a story, each leprechaun had a personality. When we move on to other things, they'll all have their own personality. And so that's what I want to give people, not just the piece, but the story as well.
So Sean, start me off now. What are we going to do?
Well, first of all, we need some eggs, Judy.
I brought eggs.
Excellent. We are going to make 2 little holes. I have this little punch here. And I'm going to make 2 little holes in the egg. So that's 1 hole. Now, because you've kind of compromised the shell by making the hole there, you have to be even more careful with this one. Now, what are your lungs like, Judy? Because your job now is blow through the top and get the egg out through the hole.
Okay.
Excellent. I'm going to cover the egg with a little bit of PVA glue. And what I'm going to do is I have some wool here. You just start wrapping it around itself. Press it in to make sure all the little bumps are gone. And here's one now that's nearly gone all the way down. It just needs a bit of finishing. Nice. And then we can cheat as well now. You can go to art shops and buy polystyrene eggs. I got these in Vibes and Scribes, and you can get them online as well. I just used 2 colours here, gold and blue. What I'm going to do now is give you this egg, and you can start away there.
Great.
And get some done. Before, there was a terrible pressure on people to make something absolutely beautiful, but now it's much more of the process more than the product is so important. This is another one, and again, you can use your fresh egg. I painted it with acrylic paint. You give that a good coat of glitter glue.
Thank you.
So I'm just using some felt I bought in the shop, and we get my good friend. Meet my little friend! So if you hold one of the petals ready to put on.
So I can kind of go like this, can I? Press it on.
That's it.
So I'll show it to the camera there now.
So I would just get a little wooden skewer and wrap. And if you had a vase then, you could just make them up.
That's
and they're beautiful.
Well, as you can see, it's dark outside, but I'm having so much fun and I'm going to stay on and finish my egg.
Thanks a million for watching, and we'll see you next week.